The 2020 NBA draft, in my opinion, is not going to be the best draft with multiple superstars, but a draft that has a lot of consistent role players. Now, this draft has a lot of deep players, and potentially, I can see that the best player is in the late teens or even in the 20th. I don't think it's going to be a second round pick like that insane, but I think that this is a deep draft. And today we're going to be doing a 2020 NBA mock draft with a special twist. The twist being that every pick is traded. First, I would like to say that this was recorded on November 15th, so no trades have happened yet. So Chris Paul might be on the Suns or the Knicks, or Russell Westbrook might be on the Hornets. I don't know yet because this was recorded on the 15th. So now, let's begin. So with the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft, we of course have a trade to announce, and that the Timberwolves receiving the 6th pick and DeAndre Hunter, and the Hawks receiving the 1st pick and a 2nd round pick. There, the Atlanta Hawks select Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves are willing to trade down and moving down 5 spots, but also acquiring a young 3-and-D player to complement D'Lo and Cat, I think can be very good. The Hawks get someone they desire in Edwards to ease the offensive load of Trae Young while holding defensive potential. I think Edwards will be a stud in the league, potentially on both sides of the ball, and I think that both teams get pretty reasonable value. Edwards stays in Georgia as NBA players are still humans, and although the Hawks part ways with their last year's 4th overall pick, they get a chance to get Edwards, and I don't think they can pass up on that. And then the Timberwolves also throw in a 2nd round pick to entice the deal, and I think that adding so much more defense to the Timberwolves team can be so beneficial. Now with the 2nd pick in the NBA draft, I have of course, another trade to announce, and there, the Golden State Warriors receive Miles Turner, while the Indiana Pacers receive the 2nd pick in the draft and a trade exception. Now, I think this deal is very realistic, but I will still explain it, of course. The Warriors get the man in the middle who they have always been missing. Turner will stretch the floor, defend the paint, and rebound. With a lineup of the Splash Bros, Draymond, and potentially Andrew Wiggins, I think that's all they need from Turner. There, the Pacers select LaMelo Ball. The Pacers move back Sabonis to his natural position at the center, and if they hit on this pick, this can be so good for the Pacers franchise. I think that the Pacers personally need that identity player and that franchise player. Since Oladipo's injury, Victor hasn't become that franchise player. I think that if they trade Victor Oladipo for someone like Karis LeVert, then run a lineup of LaMelo Ball, Malcolm Brogdon, who played shooting guard on the Bucks, Karis LeVert, TJ Warren, and Sabonis, that can be pretty deadly in the Western Conference. And most of them are pretty young. You add some bench players in the Holiday Brothers, Doug McBuckets, Jeremy Lamb, and some older role players to the squad, I think that can be very competitive, and with the Warriors getting the big man that they always needed in their championship teams, and the Pacers having the chance to hit that on that franchise player since having, I guess, Paul George, I think they bounce on that. Now with the 3rd pick in the draft, we have, of course, another trade to announce, and that's the Charlotte Hornets receiving Andre Drummond and the 5th pick, while the Cleveland Cavaliers get Nicholas Batum and the 3rd pick. And there, the Cavs select James Wiseman. I personally don't think that Wiseman on the board for Charlotte, they should really trade this, but it's for the video, I want to do it for you guys. Drummond is still only 26 and can fill the center role. He's going to rebound, dunk, and has actually showed a capability of shooting threes. There have been practice videos in the offseason him shooting, and he also shot 2 threes a game with his short stint on the Cavs. They can run a lineup of Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Drummond, and then they also have the 5th pick who they can also select with another player. Now for the Cavs, they absorbed Nicholas Batum's hefty $27 million contract, but that is expiring. They move up 2 spots using someone they traded for only a 2nd round pick, and to pair up with Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Kevin Porter, and of course Wiseman, that actually might be a pretty promising team, but I don't really expect them to make it in the playoffs over teams like the Hawks, the Bulls, but that's still a pretty good franchise. And if Wiseman can become a stud, then that actually might be a really good deal. Now with the 4th pick in the draft, I have the Boston Celtics trading up, where the Chicago Bulls are receiving Gordon Hayward, Romeo Langford, the 14th pick, the 26th pick, and the 30th pick, while the Boston Celtics receive the 4th pick and Otto Porter. There, the Celtics select big man Onyeka Okongwu. I know this might be a lot for the Celtics, but I think they will have to give that much. They trade Hayward, an expiring deal, and has been kind of cursed as the injury-wise on the Celtics. Romeo Langford is still a very young player that the Celtics don't need, and there's also those 3 first-round picks to spice in the deal. They get Okongwu, a versatile defender, and has been compared to Bam Adebayo. He can fill the center position for the next 5 years very well, as the man in the middle. Otto Porter is also for salary purposes, but would be good off the bench. The Bulls get Hayward to run the 3 as a versatile player, and they've shown that they are trying to make a win-now move, and I think getting Hayward can help a lot. They get a young player that they can develop in Langford and some draft capital. I think that this is a fair deal, but you might think the Celtics should take off like the 26th pick, but I think that that doesn't hold much value, so that should be packaged to make sure that they accept the deal. Now with the 5th pick in the draft, I have the Charlotte Hornets from the Drummond and 5th pick for the Nicholas Batum and 3rd pick deal, and there I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Deni Avdija from Israel. Now, snagging both Drummond and Deni I think would be a really good pickup, while also getting Batum's immense contract. Deni is that boom or bust player of the whole entire draft, being a 6'9" small forward with a game similar to a point guard. He is a good passer, finisher, and has a decent shooting mechanics. I'm not exactly sure if Deni would really flourish in Charlotte rather than a place like Chicago, but I think that they can run the lineup, like I said before, but maybe replacing Miles Bridges with Deni, and that looks like a pretty decent future for Charlotte, but I still think they're going to be in the lottery for next year's stronger draft. Now with the 6th pick in the NBA draft, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Obi Toppin. Now this is of course from the Atlanta Hawks deal, where the Timberwolves received DeAndre Hunter and the 6th pick, and the Hawks received Anthony Edwards via the 1st pick and the 2nd pick. I think this is a perfect fit and draft for the Timberwolves, and although Toppin is already 22, the Wolves proven that they want to compete now. He is an explosive player, throwing down the highlight dunk on the break, and is a capable 3-point shooter. The defense would be atrocious, but when you got people like Hunter to defend their best player, and also Josh Okogie, another elite defender, that could help. Having 3 offensive players to score the ball in Russell, Toppin, and Cat, they would no doubt score buckets easily. But with also defenders at Hunter, Okogie, and potentially a free agent / a 17th pick, I think that actually has a chance to make a playoff spot. Now with the 7th pick in the draft, I have the Wizards trading up, where the Pistons are receiving Troy Brown Jr., the 9th pick, and 1 second-round pick, while the Wizards are getting the 7th pick in the draft. And there, the Wizards select Killian Hayes out of France. I think the Pistons should trade up really, but the Pacers already did. The Pistons should trade up to get LaMelo. They moved down only 2 spots, picking up a promising 21-year-old wing and some draft capital in the 2nd. The Wizards get their hands on Hayes, who has a lot of potential as a 6'5" point guard. He is a good scorer, passer, good IQ, and has defensive potential, while only being 19 years old. Being under the wing of Wall and Beal can be very, very beneficial. When John Wall leaves / expires, Hayes will be ready to take that role and be that next point guard for Washington. Although they are parting ways with Troy Brown Jr., they already have a lineup of Wall, Beal, Rui Hachimura, Davis Bertans, if they re-sign him, and Thomas Bryant / Mo Wagner. With Killian off the bench for now, with him only being 19, he can develop those raw parts of his game and can be a future star. Now with the 8th pick in the draft, I have the New York Knicks trading for Russell Westbrook, and the Houston Rockets getting Dennis Smith Jr., the 8th pick, Julius Randle, and Bobby Portis. So right now, who knows? The Knicks might have already traded for Russ. I don't know yet. And there, the Rockets select Devin Vassell. The Knicks get a star, and although he might average 40, 10, and 10 on 40, 10, and 10, he might actually lead them to the playoffs and be a more enticing free agency destination. Also, Knicks fans are tired of losing, and Russ may help that. The Rockets get rid of a disgruntled Russ, acquiring Dennis Smith Jr., still a young player who they might be able to salvage, Julius Randle, who showed he can put up about 20 and 10, and Portis for salary purposes. Then the Rockets select a 3-and-D wing in Vassell. 3-and-D players fit so well with Harden, or if they trade for like a Ben Simmons, that would be so good. And Vassell would be a good fit with both players. Every team would want a 3-and-D player, and we saw that the Rockets really wanted a 3-and-D player in PJ Tucker, and what they acquired at the trade deadline, Robert Covington. And so I think that Devin Vassell is going to be a really good fit. Now with the 9th pick in the draft, I had the Detroit Pistons selecting Tyrese Halliburton. They traded down from the Wizards, acquiring Troy Brown Jr. in a second, and in this draft, like I said before, the Pistons get Halliburton, Brown Jr., and a second. That's pretty good value for a rebuilding team, as Halliburton is even marked to them at the 7th pick, and if they can pick up some more young assets, that can be really good. He's one of the most underrated prospects in the whole draft in my perspective, and he is a good shooter, ball handler, passer, and defender. He is also the ultimate floor general and controls the whole pace of the game. I infer he can be like a Malcolm Brogdon, a consistent all-around player. However, if he fully develops, he actually might be like a Chris Paul, but that's pretty unlikely. Halliburton, I think, is a really safe pick, and I think with the stronger draft coming next year with Kate Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Evan Mobley, Halliburton can be the 3rd or 2nd star for the Motor City. Now with the 10th pick in the draft, I have another trade to announce where the Phoenix Suns are getting Chris Paul, the 25th pick, and 2 seconds, while the Thunder are receiving Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, the 10th pick, and the 10th pick. Now, this is a blockbuster trade, as the Suns get the point guard and Paul while also trading down. They move on from Oubre, but they went 8-0 without him in the bubble, so that shows that they don't really need him. And the 10th pick to make this too much for the Thunder to pass up upon from other deals like the Sixers, Knicks, and Bucks. Because I think that this is a bit too much for CP, I think they get the Nuggets pick at 25 and some seconds to compensate. There, the Thunder selects Kyra Lewis Jr., an explosive player and elite playmaker. His lightning speed as a 19-year-old shows a lot of promise. He shot about 36% from 3 and 46% from the field goal. Alongside Shea, Lou Dort, and Darius Bazley, Lewis might be a good fit. And you know who also reminds you of a lightning-fast person who is a good playmaker? Yeah, Russell Westbrook. And Lewis is even a better shooter. Lewis is still only 19, so they can really develop him. And I think that having the explosiveness of Lewis can be very good for this rebuilding Thunder team. Now with the 11th pick in the draft, I have another trade to announce where the San Antonio Spurs are trading DeMar DeRozan and the 15th pick to the Magic for Aaron Gordon and the 11th pick. And there, the Magic select Patrick Williams. The Spurs want something for DeMar's expiring deal, and they get a 24-year-old who needs a change of scenery. The Magic get DeMar to be their primary scorer and pick up Williams, an elite defender who can also hit the 3-ball with their raw offensive game. With John Isaac most likely out the whole entire year, Williams can play at that 4 and develop. And when John Isaac returns, he can no doubt play the 3 with some nasty defense in Orlando. Now with the 12th pick in the draft, I have the Sacramento Kings trading Buddy Hield and the 12th pick to the Philadelphia 76ers for Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Matisse Thybulle, Zaire Smith, and the 21st pick. And there, the Sixers select Aaron Nesmith. Now, Nesmith is arguably the best shooter in the entire NBA draft, and he made about 4 threes per game on a 50% clip from downtown. However, his college season was cut short due to a foot injury. Adding 2 great shooters in Buddy and Nesmith can make the spacing in Philly so much better. Although they give up a lot, the spacing would be much better, and hoping for an alternative path to last year. The Kings go down 9 slots, absorbs Horford's contract, and who they were also interested in a free agency and were prepared to give Horford a max deal. Richardson is there to replace Buddy, and he is an expiring deal with the player option. Thibault and Smith are both young players, and they might be able to salvage Smith's career as he was a former lottery pick. Now with the 13th pick in the NBA draft, I have the Pelicans getting Maxi Kleber and the 17th pick alongside Justin Jackson, while the Mavericks receive the 13th pick. There, the Mavericks select Isaac Okoro. Now, this is, I think, a steal for the Mavs because I actually have Okoro falling, and if they can pick up the best perimeter defender in the whole draft, that can be very good alongside Luka Doncic. With Okoro's lateral quickness, high intensity, IQ, and size, I think that he can guard the 1 through 4. Although he is not the most offensive player, he showed glimpses of potential, and with Luka and the Mavs' fabulous offense, having one of the best all-time offenses ever, I think that it would be very vital that you also have some people that can defend. They move on from Kleber, a stretch big, but they already have players like Dwight Powell and Porzingis who are also very similar. So adding defense could really good. Specifically defense on the perimeter. For the Pelicans, they get a shooting big for Zion to stretch the floor. They only go down 4 slots, and they still select someone in this very deep draft. And Jackson is also a young player that they can hopefully develop. And finally, with the 14th pick in the NBA draft, I have the Chicago Bulls select Saddiq Bey. Now, of course, this was the Celtics pick, and it was in the Celtics one where they traded up. Saddiq is a versatile player who can get the ball in the basket. He shot about 45% from 3. Also, the Bulls are 27th in offense, and Bey should help. Bey is also a versatile defender, so adding some defense to also a Bulls team that needs like a lot of stuff, I think that can be very beneficial. So yeah, that's going to be a video. This one took so long to make, and I would really appreciate if you smash that like button and some subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to be so excited for the draft coming up. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.